Hello and welcome to Parently, where we tap into the unique experiences and perspectives of parents to celebrate the joys and honor the challenges of child rearing. With new interviews each week, this is a podcast for moms and dads seeking an empowering community and a little levity. Now here's your host, Kelsey Higgins.
Hello and welcome to Parently. Today's guest is Cassidy Schweer. Cassidy, welcome to Parently.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. We have a lot to get to.
All right.
Let's start with a little bit of background. Where you're from, where you grew up, anything you want to share.
Sure. I grew up here in Minnesota. I lived with my family in Anoka and graduated high school from there.
Halloween capital of the world, right?
Halloween capital of the world.
Are you
Best
a fan?
parade ever.
Yeah?
I was in it in middle school.
Really?
So,
All right. All right.
It's a nice small town, quaint feel up there. I think anyone that lives in Anoka, Ramsey, Andover can attest for that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, grew up there and then went to university down in Mankato, MSU Mankato.
Okay.
Got my bachelor's degree in Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
And
love that. Leslie Knope. Do people say that all the time?
Hands down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get that. And I also get Toby from The Office. I am now went from Parks and Rec to HR.
I suppose you'd rather.
So, I mean,
yeah.
half dozen one, half dozen the other.
Either way, it's very popular.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have two little girls, Harper and Elliot. We live in the city of North St. Paul. I am widowed and navigating a new life after COVID.
Can I ask how old you are?
I am 42.
And what age were you widowed at?
30. Oh my gosh, 5 years ago. Sorry, I can't do the math.
37?
37.
37. Well, yeah, I guess it depends on when your birthday is.
Yes.
37, 38.
So it would have been 38 because it was, 37.
It's very young to be widowed.
Yeah.
Certainly not what I imagine you probably thought your
No.
life would look like.
Not at all. I met Matt in 2010. We worked together at a university in St. Paul. And he operated the grounds department, and I was in charge of the athletic facilities and event planning. And after a stressful season of lacrosse and a soon-to-be football season, and the classes were going back into session, I had the field painted with not the best paint for a football field, and I needed to remove lacrosse lines. And time was cutting pretty close to the football season and the athletes being back on the field. So I ended up with myself and student workers scrubbing the lines, athletic lines that were painted with hand scrubbers while Matt was watching me and the student workers.
Wow.
Down 100 yards.
How long did that take you?
Well, after Matt watched me for 4 days, he felt bad and came out with a brush, like a push brush that is motorized, and said, well, you could have just come and seen me.
Why did he wait 4 days?
He told me that he enjoyed watching myself and the out there as he was viewing us.
That is hilarious.
So after that's how I met Matt and really got to know him.
So did you, right away, did you take to him, or were you kind of like, you punk?
I mean, he frustrated me by that.
Yeah.
But afterwards, yeah, I took to him and was like, hey, you want to do happy hour? You want to? Sure. And then happy hours led into dinners, led into dating, and then marriage.
How old were you when you married?
Oh, gosh, you make me do all this math.
I know. Just generally speaking.
27. 27. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And how long
Matt
before you
is-
had?
So Matt's from South Dakota.
Representing my homeland.
You know what? all good people are from South Dakota.
Amen. Amen,
I'm gonna be
sister.
real. A lot of
Amen.
good people are from South Dakota. So it's, yeah, all good people are from South Dakota.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
But had our oldest at, she is now 12, will be 13 in April.
Okay.
Again, this is where memory's coming, and I'm thinking, where is the years going? Like, I can't believe it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
But Harper so we got married, and I'm all over the place, I apologize. Got married in 2012
Okay.
and had Harper in 2013. And then Elliot 4 years later in 2017. We lived in a small house in St. Paul Park, and then Matt was driven to North St. Paul because his sister lived there and said, I think we should really try to find a house up here. And after looking for homes, we found a house that was almost identical to the color of the paint in each room.
Really?
Of his family's farmhouse.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
So meant to be. You felt like sign.
Yeah, it was a sign that we needed to be there.
Were kids always going to be a part of the plan for you two?
Yes, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure two, if not more. But I definitely wanted to.
What kind of a dad was Matt like?
Matt was an incredible dad. He was adventurous. He would come up with little things for the girls, treasure hunts, and loved to do camping and outdoors. He'd pitch a tent in the backyard, and I'd be the one staying in the bedroom saying, good luck.
That sounds great.
He and Harper connected so well. They were each other's best friends. I miss that for Harper.
That's sweet.
He's a gem.
Let's fast forward a little bit to the pandemic, because I know that was a time where that was the time that you lost Matt.
Yeah, so in 2020, everything kind of hit. Harper and I and Elliot and a good friend of ours and their daughter, and she and her daughter, we decided to go to Grandview Lodge for a spring break getaway. So we went away for the weekend, and this was early March. And we were all stoked to come back to find out that there's this huge illness. Something's going around, but nobody's really sure what it was.
Okay, yep.
And that's when Harper was on spring break, and that's when I remember them saying the kids aren't going back to school. There's been an outbreak. And I was like, how
What
am I
a
gonna
wild
do this?
time. Yeah,
I mean,
truly.
I look back and I think, how am I going to...
And how old was Harper at the time?
She was in, first grade?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
she was
great
first
time to homeschool and just kidding.
Yeah, between working from home, I had just gotten a job in February of 2020.
Oh, wow.
So not only did I just get the job, but then I went on spring break with my daughter to then find out, we have a pandemic in place. And I was hired with this employer to build their HR department to then prepare it for sale. So I was part of the team to do the merger and acquisition.
Very critical role.
Very much so. So how am I supposed to homeschool a daughter and then have another little one who's in childcare and try to navigate all of that?
Yep.
So, and Matt was working for a pretty large corporation here in the Twin Cities, so he was considered an essential employee. And so was myself, given the industry that we were serving, which was the hardware goods industry.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And Matt's corporate was the medical corporate. So, all that said, we were essential workers. So all of us, he was in the office, I was working from home, but just still trying to navigate. My employer was incredible. I mean, obviously, what do we do during that time?
Right.
How do we navigate what the future holds or what this even looks like? Nobody knew what working from home was unless you had worked from home in the past and that was a normal, but it wasn't a normal.
Few and far between. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to December of 2019, Matt and I wanted to get the girls something really special for Christmas.
Okay.
So we decided that we would take the girls to the Boundary Waters. We thought Elliot was probably at that point in time that she'd be old enough that she could carry her own weight, but we'd have to help her out a little bit. Harper, we knew was ready for it. She was down to go. So again, pandemic is here, but still not like on fire yet. So in March, in May of 2020,
Yep.
circling back. So we're homeschooling, figuring out this, and then May hits, and we're like, all right, we're going on a family trip. So this is not, things haven't shut down 100% yet. So we go up to the Boundary Waters, and we...
Probably a pretty safe place to be, relatively speaking,
I mean,
at the time, right?
You're out nowhere. Nobody's really with you. So
Yeah.
if something were to happen, we're not sure.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's
somebody
sure.
might find us.
Yeah,
but-
that's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. So as a family, we went to the Boundary Waters,
Yep.
and I don't know, maybe some people can resonate with me, but if you've ever gone on a trip and you've left that trip and your heart is just so full and so fulfilled, and that trip, like we left the Boundary Waters and I was in tears, and Matt turned to me and he said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "We just survived as a family of 4. We conquered canoeing with 2 kids. Elliot carried her own pack. She's 3. Harper's 7. I mean, and we're hitting we're doing major things that not a lot of families do at this time. So as we were driving out, I was in tears, and Elliot was eating a barbecue sauce packet from McDonald's.
Gross.
In the back seat, and I said, "Matt, clearly she's hungry. She's over the freeze-dried food this week." So we had a really good laugh about that, and it was sadly the last trip we ever took together as a family, but one of the most fulfilling trips I've ever had, especially with 2 little girls that didn't even know what they were getting themselves into, let alone no electronics, no music, I mean, nothing. And we all had each other. We were looking at each other. We were talking to each other. We were adventuring. We were taking chances and being challenged and learning for a 3-year-old what it's like to go to the bathroom outside.
Wow. It seems very serendipitous that trip happened at that time.
I feel like it's a God thing. God knew something was going to happen. We weren't sure. So then we go through the whole summer, and it's COVID's here. What are you going to do? We're all pretty much quarantined to our homes and doing home projects and navigating work and just everyday life. School year hits, and I turned to Matt and I said, "There's no way I am going to homeschool this year.
It's not going to happen."
I said, "Not with this new job." And again, my employer is fantastic, but I've only worked for the company for 7-8 months at that point.
Sure.
So I think as a new professional,
You still want to prove yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Show them what you're capable of. And, I mean, yeah, we had the pandemic there. Still, I don't give myself a lot of grace. So
A lot of women don't.
that was tough. So I just said to Matt, I said, "We can't do it. Let's reallocate our spending with daycare to go to a Christian school." So the girls started a Christian school in Roseville.
So they could go in person.
They could go in person because they're private. I don't like that term, private schooling, even though it's Christian-based education.
Oh, interesting. Why don't you like that term? I've never heard that.
There's a stigma behind it. It's not rich people go there, and there shouldn't be that stigma, because I will tell you, I'm the first person that said that to my sister-in-law, Matt's sister, and I said, "Why would you pay for school when you can get an education for free?" And my words after I then brought my child to a Christian school. But I'll tell you, what most people don't know is that a lot of these Christian schools have funding for people that can't afford to provide a
Like grants
education
and such.
Yes, there's
Okay.
grants, there's endowments, there's financial aid. I mean, if you can help with anything. So me, I was naive about that. And again, now I look back and I think, gosh, how judgmental of me. I shouldn't even have thought that you can't do that. Because I look back now and I think, I don't know where I'd be without this community. So they started going to their school in Roseville, and we didn't know any of the families. I mean, Elliot was in preschool, so we were just figuring out preschool. Harper was in first grade. She was in second grade because she was in first grade, so she was just going in second grade. We're still figuring out the masks. I mean, I think the school's still trying to navigate everything because, again, they're a Christian institution and they're not state funded. So these private institutions were able to continue things like business as normal.
Yep.
So that was one thing that we were grateful for. And time goes on and we're just navigating life, and now we're wearing masks and everybody's doing their own thing. And in December, in fact, I remember the dates vividly, December 13th, Matt and I both contracted COVID at the same time. Girls didn't have it. My symptoms were pretty minimal. I mean, everybody went through it differently.
Yeah.
And mine more felt like I was just cold, like I had a cold.
Sure.
Nothing crazy. Matt was feeling the same way, but he just felt like he couldn't get better. He's like, Cassie, I just can't kick it. I just said, I don't know what to do. I said, well, can you breathe? Can you do this? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then time's getting closer. We're going a couple more weeks in, not a couple more weeks, another weekend. And my best friend from high school, she's an ER doctor. And we get to a point that I'm coming home from work, and he said, Cass, I can't breathe.
Oh, gosh.
He was turned away from Woodwinds. He was turned away from Woodwinds twice.
What is Woodwinds?
Woodwinds Hospital.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's in Woodbury. Now, again, keep in mind, respectfully to all of the medical
community.
Thank you, the medical community. They're following protocol.
Sure.
At this point, there are so many people in these hospitals that unless you truly are having issues, like, we can't admit you.
Yep.
So he would go, he'd try to admit himself or get admitted, and they turn him away. And that night, he crawls into Harper's bed because we're all quarantined into different areas. And he crawls into Harper's bed and he said, Cassidy, I think I need you to call your friend. And I try not, she'd kill me for even say this because I don't like to use my friends like that.
Right.
I mean, I should. They're our friends. That's what we do. But I feel like I was inconveniencing her. So at this point, I knew Matt was for real. And I called her up and she said, all right, I'm gonna get him admitted. Why don't you just tell him to meet at the local hospital in St. John's, and we're on the east side of the Twin Cities. And why don't we'll observe him overnight. She calls me back and she says, nope, actually don't. They're turning St. Joe's Hospital in downtown St. Paul because they were going to close it that year, towards the end of the year. In fact, I think it was in January. They were going to close it for good because the state just no longer had seen the need for it anymore, or funding or something like that.
Sure.
I can't explain it. But she said, no, actually take him down to Joe's. We'll get him admitted down there. They're turning it into a COVID hospital. From there, we'll be able to see what goes on moving from there, but please bring him down there. So on December 22nd, packed up the girls, packed up Matt, and dropped him off at St. Joe's. And I remember turning around and we didn't want to touch each other because of how sick everybody was. And we both just said, see you soon. Call me when you get admitted, call me when you get settled in. And he gets settled in and we're good to go, and we're communicating every night, and his oxygen isn't getting any better. So it was clear, the doctors had seen, it's clear that he can't breathe. So he's using instead of regular oxygen, those really thin tubes, and again, I'm not a medical professional, properly, but the thinner oxygen tubes that you see people wear outside. Matt's breathing was so he wasn't taking in enough oxygen that they moved him to a cannula that was about this big, and it was air that would be able to, and it was around over his mouth that was giving him more air. And he had indicated to me, and again, time's kind of going by, and he had indicated to me, he's like, Cassidy, I think the nurse is telling me that they may have to intubate me because of my breathing. He's like, but it's not 100% yet. We're not sure. So we're like, all right, we're not there yet. So let's just keep on praying. So then December, and I make it sound like it was a lot. It wasn't, because he was admitted to the 22nd. So it's December 24th. And we knew he wasn't going to be home for Christmas. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. So that was hard. I mean, nobody really in the family was getting together, just given the fact of COVID. So I think that was normal for everybody. But most of all, we had, fun gifts to give to the kids. And he was super stoked to give me my Christmas presents. And I told him, I said, hey, we'll let the girls open a gift, and then we'll wait till you get home. And then we'll do our family Christmas then. So Elliot was super stoked. I mean, if you knew Elliot, she was like, the little girl's a spitfire. So we opened the gift that she got that year, and it was a Barbie dream house.
Oh, wow.
So Matt and I were videoing, and she was super happy, and the girls were able to talk with him, and all was well. And Christmas Eve passes, and Christmas passes, and holidays are slowing down a little bit. I went back to work. It was a Monday. It was December 28th. And I get a call from Matt, and he said, they're going to intubate me. He's like, where are you? And I said, I'm down in Shakopee. And I said, I'm not ready for it. I can't. I'm not ready for you to be intubated. And he's like, I just want you to know how much I love you. And then I wrote you an email. And I said, I sent it to your Hotmail account. I know you don't use it, but if you have to open it, please open it if you have to. And I said, okay. I said, did you talk to the kids? And he said, no. I said, please call him. I'll call the nanny right now. And he called the nanny, and I'm in Shakopee, so I'm like, I gotta go. Like, I gotta go home, but I live in North St. Paul, so that's about a 40-minute drive. I knew I was going to make it on time, so he and the girls videoed with the nanny. And I got home, and the kids, they didn't know better. They didn't really know. And so he told them how much he loved them, and then I came home, and I explained to them what was happening, and they were like, okay. And they didn't, again, not really sure. And then time goes by, and it's like, what's happening? I get an update from the nurses, and his medical team was amazing at St. Joe's. And from there, he's still being intubated. So nothing was getting better. It was just stable. And then he started, it was January 2nd. It was like instantaneous. They called me, and they said, Matt's not able to, his blood needs to be filtered. He's not able, his blood is not able to filter the carbon dioxide, which means he's poisoning himself. His body is poisoning himself. So they said, we need to, there's only 2 places in the state that are nearby that will, that have this machine. It's called the ECMO machine. And they said he's going to need to be placed on ECMO. It's either the Mayo Clinic or University of Minnesota. But we need you to consent that if something happens from transporting him from St. John's to the University of Minnesota that it's not our fault. I mean, for lack of better words, like, it's not the fault of them. It's just the situation that's happening. So I'm trying to hold it together, and I said, yep, I consent. It was the longest 15 minutes of my life. I got the call from the nurse that rode with him. She's like, he made it here. We're good. So then they got him settled in, and they placed him on the ECMO. And that was on January 2nd. At the time, when you had COVID and you were admitted to a hospital, you couldn't have a visitor for 2 weeks. You had to wait like a 14-day waiting period.
Gosh, that was such a wild time.
To have a visitor. But so because he was at St. John's and we couldn't see him for 14 days, he was readmitted now to a new hospital.
And it started over?
For 14 days. So
oh, gosh.
So this entire time, he's on ECMO. I'm talking with nurses. We then got an option of we have an iPad that we let people, like everybody has an iPad for their rooms because they can't have visitors that, you guys can speak through to the iPad. And that was the first time I saw Matt. Essentially in tubes. Holding it together was really hard for the kids.
I can't imagine.
Because they didn't know. The last time they saw their dad was at St. John's or St. Joe's, and I was waving goodbye and I love you. So every night, the kids and I would talk to him, and it was a normal for. Gosh, I'm trying to think of when I finally was able to make it to the University of Minnesota. I think it was after January 20th. I think 24th was my first visit there.
Wow. So over a month later.
Mm-hmm. So he was there January 2nd, and until I got there on January, I was able to go and get the okay from the doctors, and only one person could go. So the kids couldn't go. His family couldn't go. It was just me. And so every night, Matt and I would read Matt a book, and now it's killing me. It's because we're talking about it. The almanac. It'll come to me. I'll have to Google it just because but he and I read this book together. It's an outdoor book. And it's about the changes of the seasons. And it was something special. We connected over. He was an outdoorsman, and I really, truly enjoyed the outdoors. It's by Aldo Leopold. His name is...
Look at it's coming to you.
And anyone that's listening knows, it's that. But, so I would read that. That was my way of closing our nights together, is I would read him a chapter of in that book, and that's how I was able to stay connected with him. And then I was able to come and see him. Again, going back, my work was so supportive. I barely worked. I did enough to run payroll, and I was a one-person HR team. My boss was absolutely incredible. I mean, still to this day, he retired once the company was sold, but I will tell you that man will always have a special place in my heart. He was, it was very far and few in between those type of people.
You were a person first and an employee second.
Yeah. That meant the world to me. So I worked in the hospital. I mean, I just sat in the hospital room, and they had visiting hours. I mean, they were pretty strict hours. It was 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you were out, and I'd spend all day. My family would be there picking up the girls. I didn't even know the people at the school. We didn't know the kids, anybody very well, because it was COVID, and I mean, everybody was keeping their distance. So we're starting a brand new school. I don't know anybody here, and people are now flooding me with meals and prayers, and we're on a prayer chain, and we hadn't even attended church there yet because it was just we just got there.
Yeah.
So navigating this whole new world and being overwhelmed with all this love and support was fantastic. Yet I have my best friend that I just can't, like, what's happening? What's going to happen? So time went on. Days and weeks go by, and it got towards the end of January, and it was on January 28th. No, excuse me, January 30th. We all had a family meeting and with the doctors and his care team, and Matt was a what's the word I'm looking for? Matt was I don't want to say beneficiary, but
A donor?
No, he was the one that supported his parents before they had like the overall I can't think of the word. Needless to say, when his parents passed, like he had to take care of all of that, and unfortunately, his parents both died 14 days between each other, and nobody knew how sick his mom was, and nobody knew. We knew how sick his dad was because he was dying of cancer. Mom, we didn't really know. So when they passed, Matt and I had a conversation about, well, what if something like that happened to us? Because it was so tragic on his end, and really the whole family. I don't want to dismiss that by any means, but he and I talked, and we both said, gosh, if we were anything below, if it's a 50-50 and it's like legit the doctor saying no, it's not going to work, then please pull me. So the family sat with the medical care team, and the medical care team said, the doctor said, honestly, maybe a 15% chance at this time. If we pulled him, give it about 30 seconds. So I knew at that point that I need to make the hardest decision of my life.
What an emotional story. That's all we have time for today. If you held in this long through the audio, thanks for sticking with us. We hit a chord about 2 minutes into the recording that caused a microphone to become unplugged. So thanks for hanging in there. Please tune in again next week to hear the rest of Cassidy's story. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. See you next time.